Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Brianna, and thanks to Stephanie Wiseman in the Marsh Stream for this groundbreaking community service broadcast platform offering entertainment and edutainment throughout the Bay Area and now worldwide. Good evening, everyone. I'm Gail Schickley. Welcome to Solo Arts Heal. Tonight, we feature Anita Maria Taylor in an excerpt from her show, Bipolar Mommy and Me, her powerful, heartfelt portrayal of how families are affected by mental illness. Bipolar disorder, formerly called manic depression, affects millions of people worldwide every year, often going undiagnosed and misdiagnosed for years. In presenting this gift of a show to our communities, Anita Maria Taylor is a woman of action. As Solo Arts Heal was born from action through the art of storytelling and performance at the intersection of education and advocacy about health and healing. Since 2020 and throughout the pandemic, we've worked in solidarity with our core Solo Arts Heal Artist Collective, and since March 2021 with ANCAN, peer-to-peer support, presenting excerpts of shows that embrace the healing power of the arts over a wide range of mental, emotional, and physical challenges, all presenting performance and talkbacks, offering insights and resources for our audiences. This includes the health and healing of our Mother Earth, how we treat ourselves and one another, and how we treat the planet is all connected. We begin tonight with our featured guest's live performance excerpt. Anita Maria Taylor is a writer and solo performer based in Los Angeles. Bipolar Mommy and Me is Anita's first solo show. It premiered in 2021 at the Whitefire Theater's Black Voices Solo Show Festival in Los Angeles, and it explores her experiences with her mother's bipolar illness and her own lifelong struggle with depression. NoHo Arts District called it a bold, brave window into the world of bipolar parenting, survival, and forgiveness. After the performance, we'll learn more about the bipolar disorder and Anita's relationship with her mother when she joins us in a talkback with me and with you, our audience. Comments and questions are encouraged throughout. And please remember the tip jar that helps keep our platform thriving. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming on Zoom and YouTube with an excerpt of her show, Bipolar Mommy and Me, Anita Maria Taylor.
Merry Christmas! Anita, if I can't have a Merry Christmas, then you can't have a Merry Christmas. People have been going around behind my back talking about me, saying how I'm not a good Christian woman. Well, I'll show them. I am the Virgin Mary. But how can I be the Virgin Mary if I'm your mommy? The crazy lady is my mommy. You see, mommy has bipolar disorder, and not ending up like mommy has always been my #1 goal in life. Mommy had her first nervous breakdown when I was 2. She swallowed a bottle of pills, but instead of ending up in heaven, she ended up in a mental hospital. And I ended up living in 6 different homes in 4 different states between the ages of 5 and 8. And I also ended up seeing my first psychologist at the age of 16. Every Friday afternoon, I would leave school early and go downtown to the mental clinic. My chair faces a big round clock. I watch the dial slowly tick down the seconds as I say nothing. I know I'm supposed to talk, but all the words get caught in my throat as thoughts race rapidly through my head. Is it normal for the world to feel dark? Is it normal for my moods to go up and down like a light switch? Am I going to end up just like mommy? By my mid-20s, I've become 2 different versions of me. There's depressed me and there's functional me. Depressed me is a miserable, bitchy person with no hope for the future and chocolate stains on my steering wheel. I don't know why I'm alive. What's the point? Nothing ever happens for me. I'm fat. I'm single. I hate my job. And my acting career is going nowhere. Functional me possesses the only instinct that's stronger than depression, ambition. Get up. Get up. Do you want your life to always suck? Do you want to be poor and miserable like your parents? Why are you sitting around moping? You should be working. Do you want your life to always suck? Functional me forces depressed me into action, but all the internal drive in the world does nothing to heal my broken relationship with mommy. Anita, I know you think that I don't love you, but I tried everything to get you kids back, everything. Yes, I know, I missed your kindergarten graduation and your 5th grade graduation and your 8th grade graduation and your high school graduation. But that doesn't mean I don't love you. What do you mean you had to grow up without a mother? I guess according to you, I had nothing to do with how all my kids turned out. It's the conversation that never goes anywhere. It's the conversation that we repeat over and over for decades. But there is cause to celebrate when I reach my 3rd decade. You see, I have scientific proof that I did not turn out like mommy. I learned in psychology class that bipolar disorder rears its ugly head in the late teens and early 20s. I made it to age 30 without running naked through a sprinkler or thinking I was the Virgin Mary. So congratulations are in order. I am officially not crazy. Depressed, yes. Crazy, no. Mommy's crazy. She takes medication. Anita, the first medication they put me on was Thorazine. It made me so sick. I couldn't even hold my head up. They misdiagnosed me as schizophrenic. You know, that's what they did to all Black people. They labeled us schizophrenic. When they finally figured out that I was manic depressive, they put me on lithium. Lithium is a poison. Now they've got me on lithium, nortriptyline, and who knows what else. Mommy is on medication. I am not on medication. I'm a new age girl. I don't even believe in Western medicine, but I can feel depressed me rising up, trying to take control. I can't let her win this time. I visit a psychiatrist who writes me a prescription for Prozac. Oh my God. I feel so good. Is this how normal people feel? Why didn't anybody tell me about this sooner? Oh my God, now I understand why people do drugs. Giggling. I'm not giggling. I'm not acting like I'm high. I'm not high, I'm happy. Prozac became my new best friend for about 4 months, until something strange happened in acting class. I was in a scene where I was supposed to cry, and I couldn't cry. I couldn't cry because I couldn't feel. I can't feel anything from the neck down. And the neck down means all the way down because I can no longer have an orgasm. I knew Western medicine wouldn't work. It never stopped mommy from being bitter and angry. Anita, you are a lazy, rotten kid, and your smart mouth is going to get you into trouble. Now you stop poking that lip out, and you go and you shut that corn like I told you to. And don't be giving me any lip about how you shouldn't have to do chores because when you grow up, you're going to be rich and famous and have a maid and a cook. Rich and famous. If you think you're gonna have a maid and a cook when you grow up, you got another thing coming. Ain't no nigga gonna work for no other nigga. Now you go and you shuck that corn like I told you to. I want it all done by the time I get back. What did you just mumble underneath your breath? Did you just call me a bitch? Mommy slapped me so hard, I fell to the floor and banged my head against the refrigerator. For me, this became a painful, humiliating episode that I never forgot. And Mommy never forgot it either, except for her. It became a hilarious episode that she recalled fondly, even decades later. It is yet another childhood trauma to heal from, but this time I'm trying emotional freedom technique. All of my pain will just melt away if I tap the right acupressure points. Even though Mommy was abusive, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though Mommy was abusive, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though Mommy was abusive, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. While I am busy trying 45,000 different forms of alternative medicine to deal with my depression, Mommy has only one alternative medicine that she turns to, Jesus. Every so often, she gets a little encouragement from the old ladies at her church. Sister Marine, I've been thinking about what you done told me in Bible study about your mental affliction. That ain't nothing but the devil. Psalm 34:19 says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivered him from them all. Sister Marine, you don't need no medication. All you need is the blood of Jesus in Christ's name. Amen. When Mommy decided that the blood of Jesus was more effective than her lithium, hell broke loose. She showed up to Sunday service in mismatched clothes, talking gibberish. And those same old holy rollers, those same old biddies who told her that she didn't need no medication, all they did was gossip behind their fans. Ooh, Lord, the devil sure is busy. And then they told me and my sister Roz that we needed to go do something about our mother. Well, I was in my mid-20s, and that was the first time that I had to do something about Mommy. And you know what I did? I fought with my sister. Roz, we can't just put her away. Maybe if we just leave her alone for 3 days, she's gonna come back into her right mind. What? Anita, if you think that Mommy is magically gonna get better, you're the crazy one. No, I'm the oldest. I don't care what you have to say. I'm calling 911. When Mommy got out of the county hospital, she was so furious. She took all the pictures of me and Roz down off the living room wall. You two put me in the worst hospital in the state. I want the two of you to stay out of my business. Well, of course I couldn't stay out of her so-called business. Instead, I became the one who got the call whenever she flipped out. Hello, is this Mayrene's daughter? Hi, I'm her next door neighbor. I don't know how to tell you this, but I just saw your mama walking barefoot down Highway 78 screaming Bible verses. I'm afraid a semi-truck's gonna hit her. Can you come down here and see about her? I don't know how he got my number, and I know even less what the right thing to do is. If I let Mommy run around berserk, then I'm a bad daughter who neglects her mother. On the other hand, if I put mommy away in a mental institution, I'm a bad daughter who takes away her mother's rights. Anita, stay out of my business. I do not need to go see a psychiatrist. I'm fine. You know, all those donations for Hurricane Katrina, all of those checks are made out to me. I eat one piece of cheese. Hello? Is this the St. Landry's Sheriff's Office? I'm calling because my mother is having a mental health crisis. Yes, yes. Can you please pick her up and take her to an inpatient facility? 2 cookies. Hello? Is this the psych ward? Yes, I'm calling about a patient named Marie. She was never admitted. I have to call the sheriff back? 3 ginger ales. Hello? I am calling about the order of protective custody. So let me get this straight. You knocked on her door and she didn't answer, and that's it? That's all you're gonna do? 4 carrot cake muffins. Hello? Is this Marine's landlord? Please don't hang up. Please, can you, I know she's been acting strange. Can you please just go up to her door and see if she's home? 5 candy bars. Roz, mommy's missing. She's not home. She's not in a mental institution. Nobody knows where she is. Nobody has seen her in 2 whole days. There is nothing left to eat. Hello? You found her? She's in the psych ward? Oh, thank God.
Thank you so much, Anita. Thank you so much for that amazing performance. While she's getting ready to join us, I want to remind the audience about the tip jar. Funds are still greatly needed as we continue to navigate the constraints of the pandemic. And so no donation amount is too small or too great. And we're so grateful to you and for your support. And I also want to remind our audience that you may and are encouraged to post comments and questions in the chat. So whether you're on Zoom or YouTube, our producer, Brianna, will get the comments to us. So please don't hold back. And there you are, Anita. Thank you for that wonderful performance.
Thank you.
There's a lot to talk about here, and I just want to comment that you know, there's I saw your full show, and you know, there's moments of levity and a lot of moments that are so poignant in it, and I really applaud you for doing the show and telling the story. Perhaps we should just start right at the beginning and ask first, what is bipolar disorder?
Bipolar disorder is what they call a mood disorder. So it's characterized by highs and lows. So like the old Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story, that really explains like what bipolar was for my mother, because my mother was actually a very quiet person. She was very prim and proper, but when she was manic, literally all hell would break loose. So she would almost become like a completely different person. And bipolar disorder has different levels. Like they used to just call it manic depressive disorder, but over the last, decade or two, they've kind of made it more of a spectrum. So now they consider bipolar 1 to be what my mother had, and then bipolar 2 is considered to be a less extreme form of bipolar disorder, where you don't necessarily have psychotic episodes, but you have mood swings and bounce between highs and lows.
So they call it a spectrum disorder because it involves moods at both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I
individuals experience very high and very low moods.
That's like actually a different form of disorder, but it's like now viewed as something that has different levels of severity versus being just one thing.
Indeed, very good. And your mother had bipolar 1, and
yes.
You were diagnosed with bipolar 2.
Correct.
And so what are some of the biggest challenges that you face with someone with bipolar disorder?
Well, when someone has bipolar 1 disorder, it's very disruptive. The best way I can describe it is, my mom moved a lot, and I didn't really put this together until after she passed away. But I believe she moved after her manic episodes, because suddenly the people who are your friends are crossing the streets when they see you. In my mom's case, she wouldn't remember half the things that she did when she was manic. And it's very hard to maintain relationships, hold down jobs, etc., if you're going completely cuckoo and scaring everyone around you. Now, in the case of bipolar 2, how it manifested for me is just like really severe depression, but the manic part of it is really severe irritability. Like, I used to just hate everyone and everything, and I was mad all the time. And when I finally got diagnosed and went on medication, my favorite quote is, my best friend told me that I was no longer despairing and hateful.
Well, that's good to hear. And there's also, there are people that have very high degree of function. You can be a high functioning bipolar person, I understand. They call it, in fact, high functioning bipolar disorder.
Bipolar disorder stereotypically was always associated with high levels of intelligence and high levels of creativity. And that's one of the reasons why my mom felt she was diagnosed as schizophrenic, because Black people were not seen as highly intelligent, highly creative people. So therefore they couldn't be bipolar. This is the 70s when she was first diagnosed.
Oh dear. And bipolar disorder often isn't diagnosed right away. When it happens in adolescence, it's often misdiagnosed, is it not?
I think so. And I think it gets mixed up with a lot of things. There's a high level of substance abuse with bipolar disorder. My mother wasn't on any substances. She didn't drink. She didn't do drugs. So she was one of the lucky ones. But I was reading statistics yesterday that said something like 60% of people with bipolar disorder also have substance abuse. So it gets tangled up with a lot of other things.
I was reading the bipolar, what's the name of it? DBSA, the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, listed risk factors, including having a family member who lives with a mood disorder or other mental health condition, having specific genetics or brain structure, experiencing trauma or stressful life events, and, as you said, excessive use of drugs or alcohol. Yeah. I had put that link for our producer to put it in the post, because the DBSA, the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, seems to be a good resource that had a lot of information about diagnosis and symptoms and risk factors and so on. So, so tell me more. What triggers having a first degree relative such as a parent or sibling with bipolar disorder, that initially, because this is considered a treatable, inheritable or disorder. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, it's highly treatable if people stay on the medication, but there's a few things that happen. One is that the medication has terrible side effects. Lithium, my mom, said it was a poison, and she wasn't wholly wrong. It has like toxicity attached to it. And so some of the medications are hard to tolerate. They can cause like weight gain. So, it's not like a walk in the park, but I think the real thing that happens is you feel better and you think you're cured. Like, oh, I don't need that anymore, I'm cured. And part of bipolar disorder is having grandiose thoughts. So of course you think that you're miraculously cured and it doesn't apply to you anymore. And then you go off your meds and then the whole spiral continues. And that's very hard on, your loved ones, because they're the ones who have to pick up the pieces when you fall apart. So, I always felt a lot of resentment when my mom went off her medication.
Sure, yeah, because you kind of knew what was coming. I have a comment here in the chat saying, brilliant performance. This is an important issue to discuss, especially in America, where we shy away from such conversations. What made you decide to act again?
I actually, this is going to sound so California woo-woo, but I hadn't acted in years. I stopped acting in 2007. And I kind of just went through the grind of working. I work in the software industry. So just the grind of working and really not enjoying my life very much. And in 2018, as a birthday present, I decided to go to a retreat in Big Sur called Esalen. And I took this class about writing and performing your life story. And it was really like this transformative experience for me, because I was like, okay, even though I didn't become a actor who got paid acting, it's something I've always loved to do. So I need to find a way back to acting and writing again. So that was the start of it for me.
Wonderful. So this show really changed your life.
It did. It changed my life in a number of ways. One was that it got me back in touch with my creativity. The other is that it made me see my mom differently, because I had a lot of resentment toward her and we didn't have the best relationship. But like writing about it and thinking about it from her point of view made me have more compassion for her. And it also made me have more pride in her, because in the last decade of her life, she really did turn things around.
How so?
I basically call it, she became a psychiatric VIP. So my mom had years when she was uninsured, where she got no medical treatment. And if she got sick, they threw her in the mental institution for like 3 days and sent her home. I called it sopping wet. Like they sent her home and she just looked sopping wet. She was still half out of her mind and no one cared because she was uninsured. When she became 65, she qualified for Medicare, and suddenly there were all these resources available to her. So she like went to a day camp where, she, had a support group, learned all about bipolar disorder, and she really started taking better care of herself. She got her diabetes under control. She got her bipolar under control. She went back to school and got an online bachelor's degree, and she wrote 17 self-published books.
17, and what were these books?
Most of them were religious. My mom was very religious. So her favorite one was called Surely I Know There Is a God. And it was about her marriage to my father and her first like bipolar episode.
So it started early on and started before you were a thought.
No, well, her first breakdown was when I was 2. You know, that was her first official hospitalized breakdown. I don't know if she had smaller incidents before then, but when I was 2 is when she officially, you know, cracked up.
And I guess we talked about some of the things that would have brought that on. Was there any particular trauma or something? I know it also has to do with genetics and brain structure.
For my mom, stress always brought it on. Like the Merry Christmas story actually is true when my mom lost custody of us, because my dad actually won custody of us based on my mom's mental health history, even though he was crazy too. He's a whole different play I would have to write about. But when my mom lost custody of us, she went berserk, and it was Christmas time, and she went through her tiny town in Pennsylvania, went through downtown knocking over Christmas trees and telling people that they couldn't have a Merry Christmas. So I know that particular time she was arrested. I don't think she actually did any jail time, but she was actually arrested for that.
That must have been very stressful for you, and yet you rose to the occasion and you were able to take care of you. You said you and your sister, was it?
Yeah, I have an older sister and a younger brother. But the first time that we institutionalized my mom, my big sister was the one who pulled the trigger, and my mom never really forgave her for that. So, you know, after that, it kind of fell on me because my sister was just like over the abuse.
Yeah, it makes it very stressful, and that in itself is a trigger, I imagine. So I know these episodes can range from mild to severe, and they affect how a person thinks, feels, and acts. But different people experience different patterns associated with their disorder, as you pointed out. And some people only experience maybe one episode of mania and more frequent episodes of depression. Is that right?
Yes. So, you know, I don't know what the prevalence is and how it differs. I mean, I don't know exactly how many episodes my mom had because, you know, I lived with my dad and she lived in a different state, so I wasn't privy to all of it. But, you know, I would say maybe 2 crack-ups a decade in her case.
Bipolar is considered a chronic psychiatric disease, and neuroinflammation, processes that may contribute, among other factors, to accelerate certain. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's a progression as neurodegenerative disorder has been explored. Do you know anything about this?
No, that's new to me.
Again, it was something I happened to see on that on the website when I was looking at the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, the DBS Alliance, which we posted in the chat and has a lot of information there. You first started writing and performing your own plays in the 4th grade, and you went on to minor in theater at Yale University. Is that right?
That's true.
And so tell us about that and some of your professional acting credits.
My professional acting career is rather sad. My big claim to fame was I had one role in a sad movie that no one saw, and I had 2 words, and my 2 words were "go ahead." So in terms of professional acting career.
What was the movie?
It's a movie called The Brothers Solomon.
The Brothers Solomon, and I saw you on listed on the platform online, the IMDb platform.
Yes, so I had enough credits to end up on IMDb, but for me, it was a very expensive hobby that I wanted it to be a career.
And there was another movie called Mutation.
Yes, that was a horror movie that was shot at like 3 a.m. at a theater in North Hollywood on no budget. And it was fun to make, but boy, when you see it, it was so bad, it's bad.
So you thought you better get into software just as a backup there for your acting career? Like most of us need another backup sometimes when we're actors and performers. But due to your mother's illness, you experienced instability and trauma and frustration just at home, let alone trying to navigate the American healthcare system. You mentioned this about the trouble that your mother had, and it was difficult for both of you. It's kind of a lifelong struggle with depression that was eventually diagnosed as bipolar 2 for your disorder, but that wasn't diagnosed right away, was it?
No, one of the things that they say about bipolar 2, you know, when you're bipolar 1, it's obvious when things are off. With bipolar 2, most people don't go and see a doctor unless they're depressed. So they're often not diagnosed as bipolar because all that they talk about is depression. Like in my case, I don't know that I was ever manic, but people with bipolar disorder are in denial about their manic episodes. But how it felt for me is that I would go months and months and months just being in the toilet. And then suddenly I would feel better. And I might have like 2 or 3 months where I had energy, where I could do a lot of things. So, you know, I might get a new job, I might lose weight, I might write something. And I would have this period of productivity, and then I would go back into the toilet. So with bipolar 2, people don't talk about their high periods. They only talk about their low periods. So in the case of me, you know, I got put on Prozac, which is not something that bipolar people should be put on. And it actually probably flipped me a little bit manic. So now they have different classes of antidepressant drugs. So some that work for bipolar disorder and some that work for what's called unipolar disorder.
Mm-hmm. When you were referring to taking that first drug the first time and you were so happy, was that the Prozac you were talking about?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I know lithium has been a very common drug that has been used.
Yes, lithium has been used for years, and I actually was doing some research on it yesterday. And lithium is still pretty much the drug of choice for bipolar disorder. There's newer drugs that have come out in the last decade or so, but lithium is still widely prescribed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. For better or worse, I suppose. I know people that have had this disorder and have used lithium, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I was looking at some bipolar disorder statistics, and this is from the National Institute of Mental Health. Bipolar disorder affects approximately 5.7 million adult Americans, or about 2.6% of the US population of age 18 and older every year. The median age of the onset of bipolar disorder is 25 years, but it can start earlier in childhood and as late as in the 40s and 50s. So an equal number of men and women develop bipolar illness. It's found in all ages, races, ethnic groups, and social classes. And then more than 2/3 of people with bipolar disorder have at least one close relative with the illness or with unipolar major depression, indicating that the disease has a heritable component. And mostly we do know that it's heritable. So usually it's because you have someone in your family that has it. And I understand that if you have one parent with bipolar, you have a pretty good, maybe a 25% chance of getting it. But if you have two parents, that's double at least your chances of getting that. What would account for that, you think? Just as a heritable disease, or also maybe the trauma that you experience at home?
I think probably both. I mean, it's definitely genetic. I remember that there was a study of an Amish community that had a high prevalence of bipolar disorder. And my favorite takeaway from that story is someone went manic and painted "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife" in like 15-foot letters on his barn.
He had a message. He had an important message there. Absolutely. What more would you like to talk about in regard to the disorder and your family?
I think that no one talks about the impact on the family. So there's a lot of shame. I mean, imagine being in elementary school and knowing that your mom is in the crazy house, right? So there's a lot of shame. And there's also, there's kind of this, why didn't you do something attitude, you know, like as if you're responsible for the person's behavior. And what people don't realize is, in the case of bipolar disorder, crazy people aren't crazy all the time, right? So it's not like you can control their behavior because they're adults. And most of the time they are reasonably in their right mind. So there isn't this magic switch that says a family member can control the behavior of their sick relative.
It must have been more difficult for you growing up. I think it's gotten better, hasn't it, in recent years in terms of the understanding of it and people understanding it's not your fault.
Well, I think people talk about mental health now in a way that they didn't when I was growing up. You know, I'm 51. So when I was growing up, like in the 80s, there was just absolute shame about mental illness and having a mentally ill parent. It wasn't talked about. It was like this secret thing that you hid. And there was no support or understanding. I feel like now in 2022, there's more tolerance for all types of differences that didn't exist back then.
It's very good to hear. And, you know, and in most cases, bipolar disorder is treated with medications and psychological counseling, like psychotherapy. Yes. So even though you have a lifelong condition, you can manage your mood swings and other symptoms following a treatment plan that is a little more known and accepted today, is what you're saying, I hear. That's very helpful. What other resources would you suggest for people that are interested in learning more about this? I had mentioned the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance. The Mayo Clinic seems to have a lot of information as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing that I would say is don't be afraid to get help. Like, it took me until my mid-40s to actually get help and get medicated. And my life has changed tremendously. You know, I'm not depressed. I'm not mad at the world. I'm able to function better and live life better. And I didn't have that for years because, you know, and I think something else that's not talked about is the whole kind of like new age spiritual wellness,
Industry.
movement can be as intolerant as the other side, because there's this whole thing of, oh, you don't need medication, you just need to meditate. Oh, you just need to think happy thoughts, I was part of the whole, the secret movement, that was like, 10 or 15 years ago, where it's like, everything's gonna work out if you just think good thoughts. Well, if you have a depressive disorder, you literally can't think good thoughts. And, because my mom complained so much about her medication, and because I was kind of into this new age woo-woo stuff, I did try medication. So it's not that I was completely opposed, but I never consistently took medication. And in my defense, the medications that I'm taking now weren't really invented or approved until the 2010s. So the medication that was available to me 20 years ago isn't like what's working now. But I would just say, don't be afraid of, getting on medication if you have bipolar disorder, because for me personally, it has really made a difference.
Wonderful to hear. Here's some messages in the chat and questions. Any survival tip for others who may have similar family issues?
I think that one of the hardest things to learn is how to take care of yourself, because taking care of your mentally ill relative is, at least in my case, it was mostly a thankless task. My mother wasn't like, thank you for rescuing me. It was like, how dare you put me away? So I think that you have to find a balance between taking care of them and taking care of you, and it's easier said than done.
Anita, did your siblings and family know the subject matter of your show? What was their reaction and the response?
So when I told my sister that I was doing it, her first words were, "Oh no." But I'm happy to report, I kind of was afraid when I did the show of what my family was going to say and how they were going to react. And my sister actually saw it and enjoyed it and shared it with her two daughters who didn't really know the family history. So it became like a teachable moment for my nieces. And my mom's best friend saw it and loved it. And that really meant so much for me, because it was really, I'm pretty sure that if my mother were alive, she would hate it.
Why?
She would be like, well, that didn't happen like that. This didn't happen like that. Da, 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 da. So I don't think that my mom would have been a fan, but the people who knew her and saw her go through this felt like I gave like a truthful portrayal of what went on. So that like meant a lot to me, to be able to put it out and have it positively received by my family and my mom's friends.
So you were able to have peace with yourself and your relationship with the memory of your mother after this performance?
Yeah, I would say for the most part. When my mom passed away, I had a lot of guilt, because for me, if I could go back in time, I just would have been nicer to her. Like, I was so aggravated by her that I just wish I could have been nice to her. So I don't know that feeling is ever gonna go away.
Yeah, I understand. It's hard when you lose somebody, and it's always, what if, maybe I should have done something, but it sounds like you were a pretty damn good daughter. And your show is really remarkable. It's such an important issue. I'm sure there's people watching tonight that have bipolar disorder, and many people have depression and mood swings, and many of us have trauma in our lives. All these risk factors that we talk about, and it's important to be educated so that, you know, you might want to be checked or talk to your own doctor about the conditions that you're experiencing.
Definitely.
So let's see. So we talked about the Center for Clinical Internships was another one that I was looking at. I don't know, that doesn't really have any more. How about women in bipolar disorder? I understand that women are significantly more likely to experience periods of rapid cycling than men with the same condition. Do you know about that?
I'm not familiar with that. You know, I know that the prevalence of, you know, men and women having it is about the same, but I'm not familiar with what the differences are in terms of how they experience it.
One thing I saw was that the research findings indicated that women with bipolar disorder have more depressive episodes and more mixed episodes than do men with the illness, according to the Journal of Clinical Psychiatry.
I mean, that would make sense because women are more likely to be depressed than men. Women experience depression at higher rates than men, so that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And bipolar disorder is the 6th leading cause of disability in the world. This is according to the World Health Organization. I found that to be quite a stunning fact.
Yeah, I actually have a funny story about that. It's actually not funny, it's pretty infuriating. My mother, before she turned 65, she tried to get disability. And despite her very long and lengthy resume of bipolar experiences, she was denied disability. And the judge told her, "There's nothing wrong with you. You look fine to me." And my mom actually took it as a compliment because no one ever treated her like she was fine.
Very good. Oh, wonderful. As I had said to you before, the time always flies by, and it's getting close to our closing time. So I want to ask you, is there anything more that you'd like to add?
No, I just wanted to thank everyone who took time out to, you know, come and have this conversation and to watch my performance. It means a lot to me that you're here, so thank you so much. And I also wanted to thank you, Gail, for allowing me to come on and share my story.
I am so grateful that you did. I found this as I was looking for the shows, and I was looking through the websites, and I just was very excited when I saw your show because we had never talked about bipolar disorder. I have friends, dear friends, that have bipolar disorder, and it's really affected my life. And I would say that most of us probably have had experience with people that are bipolar, whether we've known it or not, and it affects all of our lives. It's important to know about it, and I'm grateful for your show. So with that, Anita, I'd like to give special thanks to you, Anita Maria Taylor, for sharing your beautiful good work with us. Art truly does heal. So look for more at her website, which I think we've posted. Bipolar at, what is your website?
I don't have a website, but my email is bipolar at Anita M as in Mary Taylor.com. So if you have questions about the show, or if you'd like to see it, you know, if you'd like to put it up somewhere, feel free to reach out to me.
Wonderful. I see that Brianna has posted that in the chat. And also there's information when you look up this show online, and you'll be able to see a lot of information at the Whitefire theaters, Black Voices Solo Show Festival in Los Angeles, where you premiered the show last year. So people can find out more information there as well. And always You can find more out on the Marsh stream and the YouTube platform at themarsh.org. So again, thank you. Here, I'd like to take just a moment here to honor an outstanding and shining authentic solo artist, Ellen Dunphy, with whom we explored when the medical diagnosis is terminal. Ellen's solo show, Imaginary Endings, which she developed with David Ford here at the Marsh, is about the intersection of her disease and her role as a standardized patient with Stanford Healthcare. It's an amazing story. We lost Ellen at age 36 on July 4th, but I encourage you to watch her stunning show, Imaginary Endings, which you'll find on the Marsh Stream YouTube channels, cached on the Marsh website. And next week, August 24th, Solo Arts Heal presents ANCAN founder Rick Davis, who will host William E. Wonders III, presenting an original piece that addresses the disparities in the health of Black community. So look for all our shows on Solo Arts Heal Wednesday night on the Marsh stream, including shows that have been cached on the Marsh YouTube channel since April 2020, our gift to the communities we share. So thanks again, Anita Maria Taylor. Thank you to Marsh stream producer Brianna Caver, artistic director Stephanie Wiseman, the Marsh management and marketing team. Thank you so much. And always to our Zoom and YouTube audiences. See you next time. Good night.